Hey there, thanks for tuning in to NAVSTAR. Today we are reviewing the AtomRC Dolphin Pro, an aircraft that I held off reviewing until they got the bugs worked out, and boy did they. The AtomRC Dolphin Pro is an awesome aircraft, and thanks to the likes of some very experienced pilots like Andrew Newton, we were airborne. Thank you, Andrew, for all you do for the hobby. So the user manual was pretty sparse, not a lot of detail in there, but that's fairly typical of AtomRC, but there's a lot of information out there online that you can find to help you build it. The aircraft went together very easily. As you can see, it has a modular nose system which can accept a variety of video systems. The parts were clearly laid out in the manual for assembly, and it didn't take long to put this thing together. Just snap the tails on with the interlocking connections. The thing that was identified early on in the beta testing of this aircraft was that the motor appeared to need to be angled up slightly, so a couple of washers in there and you're good to go. Alternately, you can install a 3D printed part, which is available on Andrew Newton's Thingiverse. But if you take a look at his videos, you'll see that just a couple of washers seem to do the trick. Getting into the electronics, the RTH version had everything set up and ready to go. You can buy the kit version and install your own electronics, but I chose the RTH for testing. This is a schematic of the wiring of the aircraft with the Navi Deluxe from AtomRC, which is an excellent flight controller. The cargo bay or battery bay is quite large and roomy. There's plenty of space for you to use some high capacity batteries. We actually tested it with an 8000 lithium ion. And here's a photo of the 3D printed part that I printed out from Andrew Newton's website, Thingiverse, and you can see those little edges down the bottom which angle the motor slightly. Those do the job of the washers, and it really did a super job. It also quieted the plane down quite a bit. So I'm set up with a DJI O4 Pro unit, and I really like the way that that sits in the cockpit here. It's kind of semi-scale and pretty easy to work with. So all right, let's get into INAV. So make sure your aircraft is properly calibrated with the accelerometer regardless of where you get your CLI. The aircraft is set up as a flying wing configuration. Note the S positions for plugging in your servos. Servo 1 is stabilized roll and pitch mix, -40, -70. Servo 2, -40, +70. Servos 3 is stabilized yaw, -50, and Servo 4, -50. It's a really good mix. I had channels 13 and 14 designated for the pan and tilt. Looking at the setup for the servos on S3, 4, 5, 6, those were all did not require reversing, and pretty straightforward setup there. And also make sure that you get your motor calibrated before your first flight. On the port section, obviously the serial is set up on UART2, the GPS is set up on UART4, and MSP display port is running through 5. So the setup here, GPS for navigation and telemetry output enabled, all the standard setups. Continuously trimmed servos was a good one to have for this aircraft. Battery voltage monitoring is standard setup. I leave the auto setup for the other battery functions. Return to home is enabled, of course, at the proper altitude. Use caution. These are the PID gains. This is post-tuning with the auto-tune function, if I recall correctly. The additional PID gains are as seen here. Rates in expo, you see they're around 30% for stabilized expo. Rates and manuals are set up as seen. Of course, 100% on the manual rates if you want to go Top Gun with this aircraft. And the roll's 55 degrees and the pitch is 45 degrees. Please note that these are divided by 10 in order to get that angle correct. It took me a little while to figure that out, but I'm slow sometimes. So those are the standard setups. These are the filter settings. Pretty much straightforward, out of the box CLI for those settings. And note on the mechanics that the level trim is about 4 degrees. I think that was pretty much dead on. Your mileage may vary. These are the mode setups. Obviously arm, angle, manual are set up to your liking. I'm flying with the RadioMaster GX12. I have a set for navigation, for cruise, loiter, and return to home. And then I have an auto-tune function set up on one of the pots. That'll get changed over to something else later, but it's usually just set up. I like to run with the Galileo constellation enabled. I've got up to 20 satellites during my maiden. And the alignment was as delivered. It didn't really need any adjustment on that one. These are the HUD settings, largely adopted directly out of the CLI. Set them up to your liking. I like to put my name of aircraft in my channel up in the top. And there you have it. Let's get into some flying. I do use a glove with these types of aircraft. I have been nipped before, and you'll note that it has a protective layer over the fingers, and those are easily found at any hardware store. So on this flight, I was flying with a 6S 4000 battery, and she did really good. The CG was about 5 millimeters forward on the aircraft, and she's very sensitive to getting that right, so be careful. My very first maiden, I had it on the marks, and she was tail heavy, and it was a nightmare, but I was able to get it back down and with no issues. She did all right despite my error, but it definitely likes to be nose heavy. So in my case, and of course yours may vary, you're going to want to try and see if you can get her a little nose heavy there. This is a view looking back from the Insta360 Go camera I have. It does really good video footage for me. I really like how that camera works, but that's not what this video is about. So I tried a number of different things. On the maiden day, we did an auto-tune flight. I flew the aircraft with 6S of varying sizes. I flew it with 4S LiPo on various sizes. Of course, the 6S was LiPo as well. And then I wanted to see how she did on 4S, and she did pretty good. She doesn't have the oomph, of course, as expected, that a 6S battery would have, but a 4S LiPo did fine. She would likely benefit from having a larger propeller. So now I'm thinking, do I want to try this thing with a lithium-ion 4S? And I did so with a battery that was, I think it was lithium-ion 8000 from Up Energy. It's quite a heavy battery, but comparable in weight to the 6S. And that battery did well. She was like taking off with a full tank of gas. It needed a really good chuck, and she struggled a little bit to get in the air. But once I got her up in the air, and pulled back on the throttle, she was able to just sip the amps. So I was running with about 6 to 8 amps with the lithium ion 8000 in there, and that thing, it could bite you. So it doesn't quite have the power with the stock propeller, but if it had a larger propeller, and it would be able to get up there with a high capacity lithium ion, and I think we might be able to get some endurance out of it. So that is yet to be determined. We will see. I want to try it, and I'll report back. So once the auto tune was complete, she really felt dialed in. You know, I was really hesitant to try this aircraft out given all the difficulties that folks had with it. But, you know, really it just took the right CLI and the right CG to get this thing where it needed to go. And I know AtomRC over there is watching these videos, and I would highly recommend that they modify the CLI that is front loaded into the flight computer and provided as a download, so those that want to try it at least have a good solid working aircraft to go out and enjoy on the first maiden day. You know, but hats off to all the OGs who took one for the team and were able to get this plane flying in a reliable manner. I'm personally grateful for that, and you guys know who you are. I've been talking with you online. This is a really cool aircraft to add to anyone's livery, particularly the aircraft in the AtomRC line. All right, let's do some flying, and I'll step away from this, and you guys can just enjoy the flight. If you have any questions, just leave some comments below. Happy to help. All right, the AtomRC Dolphin Pro. It's finally here and tuned. I held off for a little while on this model until the OGs got their hands on it and were able to develop a good CLI so this puppy can fly. And I'm 100% confident in this aircraft. Glad I waited, and I don't think anyone should hesitate when they want to go out and get one. This is a step change from the Dolphin that everybody loves. It's obviously bigger. It's, I think, more of a cruising machine than a speed machine. The Dolphin V1 is actually quite a lot faster, but this platform really cruises well. There are some modifications to it that you should be aware of. Of course, the CLI. AtomRC, if you're listening, please adjust the one that comes with the aircraft. The ones that are out there, particularly from Andrew Newton and CropCircles, are very, very good. And you may want to consider a 3D printed part like we got from one of the folks online that is extending the motor outward just a little bit. And you know, we'll be happy to provide links to that part from Andrew Newton as well. So great aircraft. I have no issues with it. It flies great. It's a super platform for the FPV setup that I have, which is the DJI O4 Pro. And go on out there and get you one. I think this is a great aircraft, and I'm glad that I waited for this one. Thanks for tuning in.